managed to set up this interview.
I know.
It is completely my fault. It is
no
my
fault. There's no fault. It's just life. It's just what happens. We get busy.
Yeah, and it's been a crazy life at the moment, right? With all that's going on, and someone with your expertise is probably in real demand at the moment.
Well, yeah, it's a challenging time for a lot of people. So coping with sort of stress and anxiety is something that people have been getting in touch about. So yeah, you could say it's in demand.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably always in demand. For people that don't know and that are listening now, Mita, can you just tell us maybe in a few sentences what you do and what your expertise lies in, so they get a better understanding of what we're on about, basically?
Sure. So I'm a mindfulness-based cognitive therapist. I'm also an acupuncturist, and I write for the Eastern Eye and do some journalism as well. So I basically help people with their mental health. So I help people cope with depression, stress, and anxiety using mindfulness. But I also help women and men sort of going through fertility issues, pain, injuries, sleep issues. So all the things that people probably sort of finding challenging during this time are the things that I can offer and help with. So.
Yeah, so that's a wide range of subjects you deal with there. Fertility issues and just general day-to-day. I mean, what do you mean fertility issues? About problems having children and the sort of mental impact that can have?
Yeah, both the physical and the mental. So when a couple are trying for a baby, it doesn't always happen. So acupuncture can help to regulate the cycle, but also with the mindfulness, it can help you to manage your emotions better, because everything's linked. The mind, body, emotions, they all have an impact on one another. So it can help also for couples going through IVF. So there's evidence to show that acupuncture can help improve the success rate of people going through IVF cycles as well. So there's quite a lot of research and scientific evidence around that whole area. So
yeah, that's something I've never heard of, acupuncture to help with conceiving a child. I always used to think it was about zinc, especially to men. Men need to have zinc, or maybe drink more milk, was an old wives' tale, I think. And Guinness was another one.
Yeah, I mean, there are there's the nutritional side and the supplement side as well, and zinc is one of them. I don't know about the milk and what was the other one you said?
Guinness, a pint of Guinness.
Oh, I do know about that. I can't say I've heard that one, but I heard that if you have that when you're breastfeeding, it helps your baby sleep. But then that's, if you're having alcohol, of course that's going to help, isn't it? So, but like I said, I haven't heard of the other two, but zinc, yes, and also coenzyme Q10 as well is another supplement which is good for men. So yeah, there's lots of things you can do nutritionally as well to improve your chances of fertility.
Yeah. So you got a wide range of experience and techniques to help people. So how did you get involved in this? Let's do a bit of background on you, Mita. Let's start right from the beginning. When did you decide this is the kind of career you wanted, or was it something you fell into slowly in life?
Okay, so I mean, if we're going right back, so when I was at university, I actually did a degree in business and computer science, and I did a master's in computer science, and I had a career in sort of management consultancy. So I used to travel quite a lot, and it was quite high pressured, and it was well paid, and it was a good job that all like our parents and aunties and uncles like, oh, that's amazing, that's really good, but I was never really happy or satisfied with the job satisfaction was, and then I always questioned, well, what am I really doing? And I'm not really making a difference to anyone's life. All I'm doing is helping corporations make more money. So I sort of looked into different options like teaching, coaching, and other areas, but I just couldn't really decide. But then had my daughter, so I fell pregnant. My dad was quite ill. He was diagnosed with cancer. And I had about 4 or 5 really stressful life incidents happen all at once. So we were moving house. And so lots of things happened in the space of 2 months. So I sort of started to reflect and review what really mattered. So I sort of I went through a whole process of soul searching. And then eventually I sort of stumbled upon acupuncture. I'd never had it, but I'd looked at all these different courses, and I went to an open day at a college that was opening near to my house. It was actually part of Oxford Brookes University. And immediately I got a sense of, this feels good. I'd sort of visited so many different options, but this felt different. And the more I investigated it, the more I felt, this is me. This sounds perfect.
I really want to stick needles into people.
It wasn't just the sticking the needles in.
Obviously more to it than that. Yeah. Yes.
It's the whole being able to treat somebody on a mind, body and emotional sort of level. That's what really attracted me to it, the whole sort of healing aspect. So
with acupuncture, I mean, I don't know much about it apart from the stupidness of sticking needles into people. Are you looking for pressure points within a body? Because I always thought it was more for muscular issues and back pain and strains and that kind of thing. But is there a correlation between acupuncture and mental health as well?
Yeah, there is. And there's, again, more sort of growing evidence to show that it can help, especially symptoms of anxiety and help to relieve stress, because when you do insert the needles into the body, there is a chemical reaction in the brain which helps to sort of, it basically, it's like going into a sort of meditation. So your brain moves into different delta waves. And that helps to promote the relaxation and the healing. So, yes, in answer to your question.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where people struggle. And I know me and you have spoken before. I think people, when they're struggling in life with certain aspects or certain situations they're in, I think sometimes a lot of people, they reach for alcohol, drugs, food, even procrastination, watching television a lot, and they don't want to leave the house. So it's in different ways it manifests itself, So in regards to the Asian community, what do you think some of the symptoms are that you see more than maybe in other cultures and races?
What you mean in terms of the mental health? Or
in mental health?
Yeah. So I think with our Asian communities, it's still very taboo. I mean, we're getting better. The conversations are more open, but it's still not really recognized. I think maybe it's some of the terminology around it, because, it's like mental, you've gone mad, that sort of, it's not really as recognized as an illness. So, and there's a whole shame and stigma around it as well, and I think often people feel that they can't open up and they can't talk because they're going to get judged, they're going to get gossiped about. And because we have communities that are so connected, if you tell one person, you don't know where it's going to end up. So I think people are quite reluctant to speak up. But also I think there is this element of we're just expected to deal with things and get on with it. It's like somebody dies, it's like, well, that's fine, you just get on with life, don't you? So
and no one really looks at the after effects. Yeah, you're right. We're always expected just to move on. And I think for Asian cultures, I am going to speak for the whole Asian culture now and say we like to sort of suppress our feelings and not like to be open with people, but that's changing.
Changing.
Go on, carry on. Yeah, do you think?
I think it's changing, but I think it's the way we're brought up as well. I mean, as a British Asian born here, we didn't talk about our feelings with our parents. I certainly didn't, and I'm sure a lot of people didn't, because our parents, when they came over from India or wherever where they immigrated from, they didn't do it. So it's not the norm. Whereas in Western culture, it's still a taboo in some families there, but they're a little bit more open. They talk about their feelings in the house, and so I think it stems from very early on in childhood. We're just not conditioned to talk about how we feel, so we suppress them, like you say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think my parents ever asked me how you feeling. You know, I don't. You just sort of get on with it, right? You know, so and I think we bring that baggage, and it is baggage, along with us as we go along, and we find certain things that help us. For me, it was alcohol. It was a perfect marriage between myself and alcohol. It worked. It worked very well, and until it stopped working. And then that becomes part of the problem as well, right? So then you're in that cycle, and it could be drugs or food. It's that vicious cycle of you feel bad, you take that supplement or whatever that thing, you feel better, but it's a depressant, right? So you start all over again and again, and it's very hard to snap out of that cycle. Is that something you would help people do?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's just really common. You know, it's people have different coping mechanisms, whatever that is, and it usually is something that's becomes quite addictive because they're running away from their own discomfort. So that is something I help them with, is in actually sitting with their discomfort and how to deal with it. Because that's the other thing, is when you realize you have all these buried feelings that you're really uncomfortable with, you don't know what to do with them. So how do you deal with this? So having that safe space or outlet, talking to a therapist, really can help you. And it can give you, that's what we do, is we give coping mechanisms and strategies to help deal with certain types of emotions, but also to understand the relationship between your thoughts and your feelings. As well. So once you start understanding that, and you build this self-awareness, and that helps you to then prevent that sort of depressive episode escalating and getting worse.
I mean, I used to sit on my own with my own thoughts with a cigarette and a whiskey. I just want to tell everyone listening, it didn't work, right? So I advise them to talk to you rather than me about these kind of things. But so you got into acupuncture, and that was your first step into this kind of work. And so what did you do then? Did you want to set up a practice, or did you start doing it for family and friends? And
well, I was really lucky. The college I was training at, they had resident practitioners there. So I was offered a place to practice there as a resident practitioner. So my practice sort of started immediately. I was very, very lucky. And actually some of those clients that used to come to me in my college clinic, they still come to me now. You know, it's like how many years on? 12 years on? 13 years on? So yeah, they still come and see me. So I was very lucky in that sense that I had quite a good start. And from then on, it's kind of just carried on building on that. But what I did find with the acupuncture was I was seeing a lot more mental health related patients, and I felt I wanted to do more for them. So acupuncture is great, but there's a whole level of other sort of talking therapy that can happen, which I didn't have the skills for. So I did another course in mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. So that goes more into the cognitive behavioral therapy side of things. It's a little bit more in depth. So I did that because I was just increasingly getting more and more mental health sort of patients. So
do you think I'm going to be I'm trying to do it as simplistic as possible. Do you think when it comes to addictions and bad habits, it's that pain and reward scenario? So you have a painful episode or a painful thought, and to alleviate that, you take, you have a cigarette, or you have a drink, or you eat foods, and then you get that reward, that initial dopamine effect from them. But obviously it never lasts, you see. So with your cognitive therapy, are you trying to give them skills in which they can use day to day, so when they do get them feelings, rather than, try and grab some alcohol? I mean, I know I keep talking about alcohol now. So subject close to my heart, right? And
obviously, what's your favourite drink?
I've got too many to mention here. No, Guinness.
Not Guinness.
I had a phase of Guinness for a while with blackcurrant. Then I went on to whiskey, vodka for a bit, because you can mix that with anything. Bacardi and Coke. I mean, I could carry on. I really didn't have a favourite. Yeah. So Do you try and break that cycle for people to try and give them some better skills, some coping mechanisms? Is it as simple as that for people?
It is for some people, yes. It is exactly that. Sometimes you just need to understand what is it that triggers me to behave in this manner. So what we do is we start to address the root of that, what's triggering that behavior, whether it's it's a past experience, or it could just be boredom. It depends on the situation, on the individual. But that's exactly what I do. Is you can learn skills to help you deal with that and cope with not running to some form of addictive type of activity. So it's learning to sit with your discomfort and your difficult emotions, because what we do is we always run away from aversion. So it's learning to sit with that. So that's what I work with people. So they build that resilience then to say, oh, right, I know what that is now. I know it's that story. And I know that means it's going to make me want to go and have some alcohol or smoke or eat a packet of biscuits. So, you have strategies in place to divert your attention and focus onto something that will nourish you instead of, so you're replacing a bad habit with a better habit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I am going to make the show all about me. I think
that's fine. Do it. I'm a therapist. I'm used to it being about everybody else. It's great.
So it was meant to be about you today, but there you go.
No, not at all. That's fine.
I think it took me a long time to work out my triggers, and boredom was one of them. And my mind's always racing with ideas and things I should be doing or can do. And one of my other triggers was hunger. So if I was hungry and I got a bit anxious and irritated or irritable about certain things, that was one of my triggers as well. So I learned that, and I learned that to calm myself down mentally was to work out. That's the one thing that really works for me. It's to train every day, and it's just that feeling I get after I finished, and it's a constant in my life that I need. And I do still eat biscuits now and again. That's one of my sort of vices, and ice cream. I love ice cream. But for me, it took a long time for me to work it out. And it was years and years of struggle, and I could have periods of 3 months, 6 months of doing really well, and I could blow it in a weekend. And that day after that weekend was awful, because you think I was doing so well.
Yeah.
Where did I go wrong? But I don't think I was addressing the triggers. I mean, there's more than one trigger, obviously. For people listening, there's more than one. I had quite a few. But so are you trying to educate people that maybe have not thought about this or thought of it as a trigger, and maybe just as they are, a habitual habit that they have all the time, and it becomes the norm for them. It becomes so normal that they don't actually realize what's going on behind in their mind, or maybe even in the environment that they're in.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the mindfulness part of it, because the mindfulness part of the therapy is where we go through exercises which helps people to increase their awareness of the feelings in their body, where the emotions are stored, just generally their body sensations, and also their awareness of their environment and their moment-to-moment experience is heightened. So when people start to have that awareness, you're able to see for yourself and make the link between your thoughts, your feelings, and your behavior. And it's only through experiential learning that people really get it. So you can tell someone till you're blue in the face, they're not going to get it until they fully internalize it and experience it. So that's where the mindfulness side really helps people to it's a light bulb moment. I get that now. So I guide people. So I suppose I am teaching, because I'm teaching the skill, but I guide them through it, and it's their realization. It's not for me to tell them. They come to their own realization, but I help them through a sort of inquiry process to get to that realization.
I mean, you've been doing it for quite a few years now. And it seems in the last few years, maybe 2 to 3 years, there's a lot of apps out there, like Mindspace, and Calm is another one.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of them out there now, and I think people are just more aware that actually they probably just need to have, some time out on their own. Even going for a walk. I know you're a big nature walker.
That's right,
I know you like to get out and about and to have a walk.
I do.
You do, right? And
I do, yeah.
But I think people are becoming more and more aware, and that you can, I've tried these apps as well, Calm, and they are good. I'm not a great meditator. I'm probably not doing it right, but I think I found something else that helps me. So whereas I think sometimes we can be bombarded with meditation is the thing. You have to meditate. You have to sit in silence, or if you can't, you're there's something wrong with you. And I think there's a pressure sometimes to meditate. This is the new big thing at the moment, meditating. But there's other ways of meditating, right? I think you've mentioned that once before. It's not just sitting in silence with your legs crossed on a mountain. So if you explain a few methods of way people can meditate, which is not norm that probably people are thinking, sitting on their own and chanting Om or something.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that is, I think, the sort of stereotypical vision is that, you're sitting there in lotus position and it's uncomfortable, but you can bring mindfulness into your everyday life. So it's like a mindful awareness. So mindfulness is all about moment to moment awareness of your experience without judging it. So if you apply that, you can apply it to that definition, you can apply it to any aspect of your life. So say you're brushing your teeth, you could do that as a meditation mindfully. So you really focus on brushing your teeth. So you're focusing on the sensations in your mouth, maybe the taste of the toothpaste, the sensations around your gums. So, and you're just focusing on that. So if you find that your mind is wandering to, oh my God, I've got to do all these things today, you just gently guide it back to the sensations in your mouth. So you can do it in the smallest of activities like that, like even when you're showering, or if you're, say, running or cycling. So you can apply it to everyday life. So even if you're listening, you can use you're listening to somebody on the phone, even if they're boring, or you're listening to somebody who's really boring, you can use that as an opportunity to practice mindfulness and really be fully present.
I do that a lot.
I hope that's not referring to me, though.
No, obviously not, because I can see you and you can see me.
Yeah. But you know what? So you can really apply that sort of mindful presence to everyday living. So even to listen to somebody, you give your full attention. So mindfulness is all about giving your full attention to whatever it is you're doing in that moment. Yeah. And it's being fully alert, fully present without judging the experience. So, but at the same time, you're aware of your thoughts and you're aware of the sensations in your body. So there's a lot to do. And that takes practice, and it takes you. It's not something you can just necessarily pick up like that. It is good to probably do a course. And I'm not trying to plug it, but I know these apps and things are out there, and they're great for a quick sort of, I'll sit and but I don't think they give you the depth of what mindfulness is really about, unless you go to a teacher.
No, I agree. I actually spoke to someone who was a teacher, and he explained to me that actually, even when you're making a cup of tea, that you can be in the moment of making a cup of tea. And I was like, what are you on about? He goes, when you get your cup out, you boil the water, you get your tea. He goes, you're concentrating on something that you're making. And he goes, if you try and just focus a little bit more on what you're doing, and see, you're putting the water in, you're putting the milk in. And he made it sound simple. It's a bit like your example of brushing your teeth. So what he was saying, he goes, that's meditating in itself. And then I, to be honest, when he told me that, I did think it was nonsense. But then I realized that actually the Japanese do that, don't they, with their tea ceremony? And they've been doing it for thousands of years. So there's obviously something there that people have known. And obviously I'm a bit slow on the uptake and just working out.
Yeah, that's right. And actually, the mindfulness is the traditions are rooted in sort of Buddhist philosophy, and it is about sipping your tea slowly. It's basically that moment to moment awareness means whatever you're doing, whether it's making a cup of tea, brushing your teeth, listening to somebody, just do that one thing and do it with your full attention and your full awareness and your full presence. So that's what it essentially is.
Mm-hmm. So if someone was to contact you, Mita, and say, look, I need some help with meditation, that's what you do, right? You would help them and guide them.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of
So,
course. Yeah.
and of course, I would add all your links and social media channels on the podcast app notes so people can get in touch with you, because they may be listening to this and thinking, yeah, I need that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're obviously not going to come to me. Yeah. But for you, they might come to you and say, look, I probably need some help. And I think there's a bigger problem than we realize, because like you said, especially Asians, we keep it quite quiet.
Yeah.
But I think if we was to open up a bit more, I think there'd be a tsunami of people asking for help, because I think more or less almost everyone would need some help at some point in their life.
And that's absolutely true. And there's no shame in asking for help, because you know what, we're all human, we have emotions, and if we're not expressing them and talking about them, where are they going? Because they are manifesting somewhere in your body, and eventually they manifest as some kind of pain or thoughts that keep coming back and haunting you. So they need to be dealt with like anything else, like a headache. You have to, it's an illness, or it's something that's not right, that needs help with. So, and there's no shame in that.
So do you think someone who could possibly have some issues, it could manifest in like a muscular pain, back pain, or have you seen that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So often what happens, especially on the acupuncture side, is I'll get clients, usually not always men, it's men and women, but I see it more with men, and they'll say, I've got this really really bad knee pain. And when you start sort of talking and they start opening up, and there's often a correlation between when the knee pain started and what was going on in their life. And there was it could have been a divorce or some kind of job loss or some disappointment, or something was going on, or something stressful in their life, which was never really dealt with. So there's often, not always, but often there is a correlation between some kind of emotional trauma alongside this physical pain that's sort of manifested as well.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Yeah, definitely. So, so people, I think people could be out there listening. They could be having problems with some muscular pain, and they're treating it like a sports injury, with like deep heat or something.
Yeah,
where they're not actually trying to see the root cause of what this is. I mean, that's eye-opening for me, to be honest, because I think that happens to a lot of people. And in your practice, what are the kind of I don't want to say the top 5 issues people come with, but it's not that kind of show. But what are the main issues that you are dealing with in your practice mainly? What you find at the moment?
So it is mainly stress, anxiety, or anything mental health related. I could see a lot of depression, obviously pain as well. I get a lot of back pain, migraines, knee pain. So on the pain side, it's that. And then I obviously have the fertility, women trying to get pregnant, because that can be have a huge impact on your mental health as well if you've been trying in that whole disappointment. But it's not just the female that's affected, it can affect the male as well. So they would be like the top ones. I also see things like people just are lost and they don't know where to go next, and they just want someone to talk to or something. They just want some guidance or just an outlet. There's an amazing amount of people who are just not feeling their best, or they've got low energy. So those, I would say, are the main types of things. Oh, sleep is a big one as well. I get a lot of people who are struggling to sleep as well.
Yeah. I mean, do you think it could be a correlation between, I mean, a lot of us are online so much now, and I think when we're scrolling on our phones, we see other people living we see the best parts of other people's lives, right? Which is not always true. So you've seen all these people go on holiday, and they're looking fantastic. They've got loads of friends. They've got a new car now, and or they brought, and we start judging ourselves. You're thinking, I haven't got that. I wish I could go on holiday. But I think people don't realise they're not always bloody on holiday.
Exactly.
These are probably pictures from last year or some. Well, obviously they are at the moment, but but do you know what I mean? And I think we're beginning to judge ourselves to other people a lot more now than we ever did before.
That's right.
And I think it's quite a dangerous place to be in, because
and this is something I see a lot of as well when I do the consultations. I would say 8 times out of 10 social media comes up, because as humans we naturally compare. So we do this social comparison, and then we sort of see what other people have got, and we feel that we have to have that, or we're not quite there, so we're not good enough. And then with this whole negative inner critic talk starts to happen, and it starts to eat at your self-worth and your self-esteem. And that feeds directly into your mood. And that also then affects your thoughts, which then leads to depression and anxiety and stress. So it's very real, and social media does have a huge impact. So I always say to my clients is to have a break from social media, or use it when you're feeling really low and vulnerable. Don't use it, because if you know it's going to have that effect on you, don't use it. Be kind to yourself. Just come off it for a little while, especially if you're, say, trying to have a baby and then it's not happening for you, but all your friends are posting baby scans of that's going to have an impact on you. Although you're happy for them, you can see why that's going to make you not feel good about your own situation. So, there are lots of situations where I do advise that people look after themselves and protect themselves.
Yeah.
Because, it's not normal either. Social media I don't think it's normal. I don't think as human beings we are made to be that connected all the time. Yes, we need human connection and social connection, but not at this level. So we must take breaks from it and stay in the present and stay in the real world, in your real life, and count your blessings that way. So.
No, I definitely agree. And I think one of the problems we have, because I've got young kids, and I mean, they're not on social media, obviously, unless I put them on there. But it's a world in which we gauge our self-worth with numbers.
Yeah.
So we're looking at likes and shares and comments and all that bullshit, right? But the numbers are never going to end, right? So if you get 100 likes, so and so Sharon on TikToks, she's got 1,000 likes. Right? Sorry, Sharon, if there's any Sharons listening. But you know what I mean? It's a never-ending thing, and then it's going to go to hundreds of thousands, millions. I mean, when do you stop? When is enough is enough?
Yeah, I think the key thing is to remember that your self-worth is not defined by these external events that are so temporary. You have to start looking within. That's where your real worth and value comes from. And that's where something like mindfulness is really useful, because it helps you to tap in to your own inner strengths and focus on that rather than what's going on outside, because actually that doesn't really give you the peace that you're looking for in this frantic, crazy, mad world that we live in. It's not out there on social media. It's not out there on the street. It's not outside anywhere. It's actually all inside.
No, I agree. You're right. I think that's the problem now. We've become so attached to these phones. We are addicted to technology, and these phones, they're stuck with us every day. They've become part of us.
They have.
They have. I wrote a column it was called Smartphone Compulsive Disorder. I wrote it about 4 years ago, and it's still relevant now. But I think people are wising up in the sense that they know that they have to take the breaks from social media, but not everybody is aware of that, or they're aware of it, but they don't do it. They still allow themselves to stay in this toxic thought process or cycle.
Yeah, I lost my phone once. I was on holiday, and the first day I was distraught, because how am I going to tell anyone that I'm on holiday? And look how great I'm doing, But then after about a day or two, I sort you forget, and you have different routines. And I didn't wake up in the morning, look at my phone, or last thing at night. And I started enjoying the experience of where I was, and spending some quality time with people that I was talking to, and not distracted about what's on my phone. And I would say after about 3-4 days, it was great, absolutely great. But the moment I got a new phone, I was back on it. And I think it's important for people to know, and you probably know, that these people that make phones and these apps, they have psychologists involved, don't they? And they create them so you don't get off them. You get like little dopamine hits. So every time you post something, you get a like, you get a little rush, don't you?
Yeah. It's like at the slot machines gambling, and you get the money come through. You put that 2-penny thing on Blackpool Pier, wherever. We've all probably done that, right?
I love that game. Love that game.
Yeah. So you put and it's addictive, because it's like, oh, I'll have another go, I might win some more. And social media operates in exactly the same way. And actually, I think a lot of psychologists have actually been saying that. You know how cigarette boxes now, they come with a warning that's bad for your health. Well, so should apps and technology also be held accountable, that too much usage can have a detrimental impact on your mental health. So I don't think that's actually happening yet, but there's a lot of people, including myself, who think that should happen.
Yeah.
Just like sugar should be regulated. I mean, I was saying it 15 years ago, sugar should be regulated. It's like, it's also very addictive, and now it's only in the last 12 months that they're putting less, because of the obesity rates rising in the country. They're placing less sort of sugary chocolates at tills. So I don't know how long it will be till they do the same with technology, but it should definitely be on the agenda somewhere.
It's definitely, it needs some kind of regulation. I know some phones have that message that pops up, your weekly screen time, and mine is bloody awful sometimes. When I look at it, I'm thinking, what? And it's like 7 hours, it adds it all up, in a day. And I was thinking, I can't be on it 7 hours. Well, obviously you have at some point. And it's a strange thing, because it is a dopamine little kick when you post something. And I think there's a little correlation between creating a post, like taking a picture. I mean, I do this, take a picture when I'm working out something, and I edit it and all this kind of business. And I write a little comment and blah, blah, blah. And you post it. And this is maybe a few years back. And it's kind of like gambling.
It's exactly like that.
So you're gambling with your post, and you want to see how much money or return or social currency you can get out of that post. And it's that dope. So you may do a good post and you get, I don't know, over 100 likes, So the next one you might get 20, and you feel down. You can feel down. And I think that's a problem for someone who's maybe fragile and struggling. Something like that can have a detrimental effect over time.
Definitely. And I think especially if you've posted a photo of yourself, and then you start comparing it with other people who have, say, got a lot more likes on there, and then you start to think, maybe I'm not good looking, or especially for younger girls, and this has actually been shown, sort of evidence-based, that young girls suffer from this because that's what they do. They do this whole social comparison, and they base their worth on their looks and how many likes they get. So it's not good if you're fragile and vulnerable and influenced by this. So it's really important that we realize, as adults, and also to pass that message on to the younger generation, that do not let social media define your worth. It doesn't mean anything, really. So,
no, it doesn't mean absolutely nothing. And
it means nothing. And
you're very right about, especially for women. I think before social media, because I'm old enough to remember the time before social media, pre-MySpace and all that. And I remember there used to be issues for women looking at fashion magazines and catwalks. And they'll say, these women, look how skinny they are. There was a period of heroin chic. You remember that when the women when they're so skinny, when they turned sideways, they disappeared. And and I remember that becoming a big issue, you know, about bulimia came into it. And that was before you had a device in your hand, which is bombarding you with images 24/7 now.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
So it's probably only got worse.
Yeah, I would say so. Absolutely. And we know in the recent years that mental health issues are on the rise year on year. They're not getting better. We're talking about it more, so people are more aware, but they're not going down either. So the number of cases are rising. So we know that this is happening. And, like you say, the device, we have it 24/7, we're connected to it. And it's, if we don't manage that time, we are likely to fall prey to it. So
maybe they could turn the internet off. You remember that? Do you remember back in the day when ITV used to close and that little girl came on with the dolly?
Oh yes, I do remember with the dog. Was it the dog or the dolly?
I think it's a dog or a dolly.
Like
oh,
I know what you mean. The tartan background.
That's it. And everything was shut, so you couldn't watch anything. They should do that with the internet. Just turn it off from 12 o'clock at night till, because some people are on it all night.
Yeah,
and the first thing in the morning. At least wait until I've had breakfast and before the selfie.
And it actually it does impact your sleep. So there's evidence also to show that the blue light from the phone interferes with our sleep. So ideally, you should not be using your device at least an hour before going to bed. But also, you should try and, if you can, charge it in a separate room, because the blue light from that does interfere with your sleep. So the quality of it's all like a vicious circle, and everything is related. So if you're not sleeping well, it's already instantly going to make you more irritable, more vulnerable. And then you start waking up and you start seeing all these images and not feeling good enough about yourself. Can you imagine that whole vicious circle going round and round? So
I mean, talking about the blue light, you're right. Looking at phones late at night, I think every sleep expert has said, don't use screens an hour before you're going to sleep. And what the phone companies did, they had an app that goes to night mode on phones. So they're now helping you. You don't turn the phone off. We're going to put something in there which will protect you from blue light or whatever, right? It tells you that these companies are not looking for your best interests at all.
Well, of course they're not. They're money-making machines. So they're concerned about their bottom line, which is their profit. They don't care about your health. They're not a healthcare company. I know Apple have like the health app on your phone, but really, I mean, the wisest and kindest thing they could do is to issue health warnings, like cigarette companies do, and take that responsibility, that technology, the impact it has on people's mental health.
Do you think that will help if they had some kind of warning? I know I used to smoke, and when I used to buy cigarettes and they had the half a lung on a picture of a half a lung, I still used to smoke. But it's a step, I suppose, in the right direction.
I think it depends on each individual. Some people, are frightened by certain messaging. Some people, sometimes they need that visual to help them wake up. So everybody is different. But I think from their sort of social responsibility to their consumers, they ought to.
Yeah.
Just out of ethical reasons, whether the consumer chooses to take that message or not, it's a different story. But even if 10% of their consumers did, that's better than none.
Yeah.
So any step in that direction can only be a good thing.
Yeah. So are you saying I'm the kind of guy not affected by a black lung on the side of a cigarette box?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm sure you would be. I mean, I remember those images when they came out. Was it back in the 80s or 90s? And I remember seeing that black lung, with all the nicotine on it, and it made me shudder. I mean, I'm not a smoker. I've never have been. But even so, it still made me shudder.
Yeah, it is disgusting. I think sometimes you need to shock people slightly. Because I remember the drink drive adverts, I think back in the 80s.
Yeah,
really hard hitting ones, and it did help. drink driving went down. So maybe we do need to be shocked, or maybe we could be electrically shocked by the phone. If you've used it too long, give it a short little electric shock.
Now that might be infringing on human rights or some kind of.
There's too much human rights at the moment, though, isn't there? I mean, a few electric shocks for some of these people on TikTok. Have you seen TikTok?
I have seen TikTok. My son made me do some TikTok videos with him, which I'm embarrassed to admit, but it was only fun and nobody saw it. So I think, it's interesting. It's just another level, isn't it? Yeah.
See, TikTok have learned from all the other apps. I have looked at TikTok, and I think it's all right for kids, like your son's age.
12.
That's fine. When you've got grown-ass adults on there dancing along too. Anyway, but it's built so you never get off it because you're just scrolling up and up. And you know what? It is funny and it is entertaining. And
it is entertaining,
It is entertaining, and people out there, and you just it's never ending. Never ending. The next one, the next one, the next one. And they've built it so you'd never need to. You could spend hours on there.
That's right, you could, but I've not downloaded it or anything. I've only seen it on my son's phone, and but I have very little attention for it as well. It's like it's another new app that I really don't want to get into, or I didn't even get into Snapchat. I remember when that came out. I've never really got into that either. I think it's hard enough just to have 4 apps on my phone, social media apps, and even that's too much at times. So I have to turn off all my notifications for my own mental well-being. Otherwise, I feel that I'm constantly on my phone, and I don't want that invasion into my real world. So
I think everyone listening, what they really want to know is what did your son make you do on TikTok?
Oh, it was a Drake, the Tootsie slide. It was that. It was the dance to that. Yeah, it was embarrassed. Very cringy.
We'll provide a link for that in the show notes.
You're going to lose all your followers, Sat.
Who cares? I've already said let's electrically shock them on their phone, so it doesn't matter. But it's another thing, and I'm sure as we go on and as our kids get older, there'll be more apps making them stay on their phones longer and longer. And I get to a point, I just switch off from social media. I mean, I stopped my previous show just like that. I never made an announcement. I just let it die because I just had enough. Yeah. And it's a constant, and I have to be careful with my own mental health, as I've explained earlier, as you know. Yeah. So I know if I need to stop a fairly successful show, I would say the first one, I will. Because I think probably my health's more important than getting likes and shares and people listening to me go on and on. So I've learned that now. So at some point, if you see me disappear, I've not gone anywhere. I'm just going to recuperate.
And good for you. And that's a great, that you're doing that self-care for you, and that's really great. And I think it takes courage, but also maturity as well to know when to do that. It's like, it's okay, I don't have to be on social media, I have to share everything about my life, or it's fine, and that's really, really refreshing to hear that. So it's good. Yeah,
I've definitely changed from before. I don't really care anymore. I've got no major ambitions with this show, as in I used to have super goals. I want to do this, I want that many followers. I'm just going to interview people that I like. I'm going to put it on and share it with people. People enjoy it, great. If they don't, it's not the be and end all for me.
Exactly.
For me, my mental health and my physical health and my family, that's kind of way more important than
Absolutely. But what you've just said there, you've let go of this need to achieve something and this striving, and that's one thing mindfulness teaches you, is to let go of all these ideas of perfection, etc. And once you start letting go, it's much more easier. You're obviously more at peace. You're able to do things to look after you, and you know what really matters. And that's actually the beauty of it, that what matters in life. So, and I think it takes people a long time to get there sometimes.
It is liberating, really is, because I post all sorts of nonsense these days because I've got no agenda. I've got no plan, so if I see something funny, I might post that. I might post some photography that I've done, but I've got no major plan. And but I think that's just, and thank you for calling me mature. No one's really ever.
That's okay.
no one's ever. Go on.
That's okay. Well, you are. I'm just saying what I see. I'll say the truth. This is what we do. So, but
no, thanks. But so look, as your your career developed in helping people, you got an opportunity to write about it and become a columnist for Eastern Eye, and you have for a while now, haven't you? How many years you've been doing that for?
It's been about 7 years now. So.
Wow.
Yeah, and the thing is, I do love writing, and for me, it's about getting a message out to a wider audience. So it's always been about helping people. So that's why I had a career change in the first place. Was I felt that I wasn't doing anything to make a difference. So I used the column to try and make a difference in that somebody might read this and just at the right time and it resonates with them and it makes them think differently. So in that sense, it's been quite good that I've been able to have that sort of outlet.
To use, and you obviously enjoy it. You've been doing it for such a long time now, and they are fantastic columns actually. Like you spoke about phone addiction like 4 years ago. So you was ahead of your time. You could see that we're all going to get bloody addicted to their phones. And you're right. Any more issues I could look out for? Do you know anything else?
Oh, I don't know. What's the next one? Actually, I have been thinking a lot is about the whole collectiveness of, the collective grieving and this whole thing. I think in the last sort of, decade, it's all about personal growth. It's all about the self. And I think there's been a rise in sort of narcissism. And I think this pandemic is now highlighting how connected we really are. So I hope that going forward, people start to see that collectiveness rather than their individual self. So, but I'd kind of said that as well a long time ago as well, but it's okay.
Yeah.
They'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
Not that I know everything. It's just, you sort of, you just, when you sort of think about things.
Well, I think if you're helping people with their mind and you've listened to their issues, you kind of get a pattern of what happens. But then when you can see certain scenarios in the world pan out, you think, well, that's going to affect people in such and such a way, especially something like COVID-19. I think we got to a point where, we think we're infallible as humans, as a species. We own this world. We don't own it. We're renting it along with everyone else. And I think it's taken something like this to think, actually, this can affect us and people that we love. And, it's maybe, I think there's a period when COVID-19 started where for about 2 weeks online, everyone was very nice to each other. We're all in it together. Now everyone's become an arsehole again.
It's true.
Why is that, Mita?
I think it's the fear. There's a scarce mentality a lot as well. There's a lot of division. There's, it's that whole judging, people wearing masks, people not wearing masks. Some people want lockdown to go. Some people don't. The politics of it starts to bring out the arsehole in each other. Sorry, I had to say that, but it does, and so before we were all in it together, we were all in the same boat, but now we've all got the differences of opinions. And the thing is, we all have different anxiety and fear levels, so people will manage it in different ways. So I think a lot of things stem from fear.
Fear of the unknown, because we don't know what's going to happen yet.
Yeah,
I know the lockdown's being eased, but I'm not sure if we've got any better yet. So who knows what's going to happen. So probably work like yours is probably more and more important as we go along. And your column is one outlet that you have as well. And I know you recently just started doing some interviews.
That's right.
That's
yeah.
Eh?
The next Sat Man in the making.
Oh, we don't want to be that.
Yeah, I've just started working with Burfi culture recently. So, well, actually, I've written some articles before. So I don't know if you know Sunny Hundle.
Sunny Hundle, yep.
Sunny Hundle, great top man. So, I've sort of been working with him, and Sadia Khan and a couple of other journos. And really, we sort of came back together at this time during the pandemic because our South Asian community and BAME community is being so affected by COVID. We sort of felt that we wanted to give them, sort of get messages to them and sort of bust some of the myths around COVID. You know, like we get a lot of our uncles and aunts are sending messages over WhatsApp. There's all these conspiracy theories. There's lots of misinformation out there. So we just really wanted to sort of try and bust some of those myths, but also see how our South Asian community is affected in the various different industries. So that's what we're doing at the moment, sort of interviewing people in different industries to see how the pandemic has affected them and how it's changing the world and what the future might look like for them. So I'm really enjoying that. It's really interesting because I love talking to people. I know writing is an outlet and that's great, but there's another buzz in talking to people that, you know, you get that sort of engagement and you sort of, I really do love that. It's just actually having a conversation with someone so lovely and refreshing. So,
yeah. So I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'll definitely carry on. And I did see you, I think it was with Parlay Patel, and I saw that pop up and I thought, oh, Mita's doing an interview, and I was happy. I thought, oh, that's fantastic. It's something I can talk about when I chat to you myself. And there is something definitely special about having a conversation. And I that's why I do the podcast, to be honest with you. It's the difference between doing a podcast and radio. Whereas on radio, you might have 15 minutes, half an hour if you're lucky. Then you have to stop for the news or have a break. And it kind of breaks the conversation. Whereas we don't really have a time limit here. Unless you get hungry or something and I need to go somewhere. But other than that, we can carry on and we can deep dive into certain subjects, you know, or just generally have a conversation about life as you're doing with your guests at the moment, how they're getting on, how's their creativity, has it been stopped, you know, and these kind of things. And that's why I think we should be using all these outlets. That's the thing social media is good for.
Yeah. Absolutely. It does have its merits. It's not all bad. It's really great for connecting people for the right reasons. And, you know, sharing those sort of interviews and information, I think it's really wonderful for sure. And also when you've got family all over the globe, which I have cousins all over the place, I would never text them. But the fact that they are all on social media means I can post something and they'll comment if they see it. And it's great. So it's great for bringing people together. So as long as you use it and it doesn't affect your well-being, then it can be really good.
Yeah. Has your family seen you on TikTok yet?
No, oh gosh, no one's seen that. That's going nowhere. I think it's deleted now as well. So, or my son might be using it to bribe me at some point. Who knows?
I know. But so, I mean, exactly, that's what it's really for, social media, and that's how it should be used as a positive. So for yourself now, what's the future plans for Mita? Are you obviously carrying on with your clients and helping them out? Obviously, that will continue, I'm sure. But you're sort of starting to delve into the media side of interviewing. You're obviously still doing your writing. Are you going to continue? Are we going to see the Mita Mistry podcast? Is what I'm trying to ask here. And I think that'd be fantastic. I'm more than happy to help you, because you could pick a subject. Let's talk, say alcohol. And some of the steps someone could do to help them with alcohol. And it doesn't have to be my interviews are quite long, unfortunately. I don't stop talking.
That's okay. I love talking. It's fine.
But good. you could have short, sharp little podcasts. Just a thought. And you could do it yourself, you see, at home. You don't need no one else.
It is something that a lot of people have said to me, why don't you do a podcast? Why don't you do a podcast? Why don't you do a podcast? And it's something I have thought about, but because I love talking, but I just don't have the time at the moment. So, I mean, I'm doing this Murphy culture stuff, which I think is really important for our community at the moment. I think it's a source of information, and it's just something where, you know, these people's voices need to get out there. But I think I would like to maybe explore how we can get more mental health messages out on a different medium, like with a conversation. So it is something I would definitely consider, but I just don't have the time for it at the moment. So
Okay, you saying that I have a lot of time, do you?
I'm not saying that you have a lot of time. I'm just saying, I think you could just spread yourself too thin.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I need to kind of focus on, I've got like my practice as well. So that's really changed. So at the moment, I'm not.
I forgot you're working as well, right?
Yeah, so I've got my practice too. So I've got my acupuncture clients who I can't see at the moment because of social distancing reasons. But at some point in June, I will be able to reopen my practice. So I have to reconsider how I'm going to do that because there's obviously new guidelines on how you sort of work. And then also I'm doing a lot more online therapy now as well, which I wasn't doing before. So the mindfulness is a lot of that's online. I'm also working with some doctors on some research projects. So there's only so much I can do. But I think maybe when some of those things end, maybe I'll look at podcasts then. Who knows? We'll see.
Well, you know who to ask if you do consider it.
I will ask you, though, definitely, for sure.
Just an idea I had. I thought, well, maybe she could do it. And because it's a good subject, and I think people will relate to you with that. Something to think about.
I'll definitely be picking your brain. You're the expert, so for sure.
That's fine. I've done one. I don't know if I'm an expert, but I'll be more than willing to help in that way.
Thank you so much.
No, that's okay. So Mita, look, we're coming towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to keep you too long. And
no, that's fine. I don't mind talking.
You feel free to come on again at any time, and we can maybe
happy to chat about anything.
And this show is about, you can chat about anything, but it'd be nice to maybe take a deep dive on a particular issue.
Sure.
But this was more for listeners to get to know you that don't know you. But is there any message you would like to say to anyone about how they can get in touch with you? I'm sure there's some people that will listen to this and think, you know what, it'd be nice to, because you have quite a calm and soothing voice. Has anyone ever told you that?
They have, yes.
Yeah. Oh.
They have. Well, the thing is, when I teach mindfulness, I've got these audios with their homework that students have to do. And at the moment, they're the standard audios which are provided by Oxford University. So it's one of the professors from Oxford. So when they do these exercises, because they're doing them in the class with me, and then they go away and do their homework, they come back and say, but I didn't like that man's voice. I want to hear your voice.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to have to record my own audios as well at some point. So,
yeah, you should. You should.
But I don't know what you were saying now. I'm sorry, I just digressed.
Yeah, sorry. I just said you had a nice soothing voice, and
thank you.
And I'm sure people listening out there will think, you know what, I've got some issues, and
sure.
This is obviously them talking in their head. I've got some issues. I'd like to talk to someone about it. And how do I get in touch with Mita? How can people get in touch with you?
Okay, so I'm quite active on Twitter. So I'm at Mita Mistry on Twitter, or you can look at my website, which is mitamistry.co.uk. And I have a Facebook page as well. So if you just find Mita Mistry UK, I'm on there as well. I'm also on LinkedIn. So any of the social media, if you just look up Mita Mistry, you should probably find me somewhere.
Yeah. So. And what do they do? Just send you a DM or something? And
my DMs are open on Twitter. And I think you'd have to send me a request on LinkedIn. So I accept most people anyway. So
yeah. Okay. Well, that's great. Look, Mita, it's been fantastic talking to you. Finally.
I know, finally. Thank you so much for asking me to come on. It's been really lovely to speak with you. It's so nice. So I really appreciate that. So thank you for that, Sat.
No, not a problem at all. And like I said, we'll do some more as we go on in the future.
Yeah, happy to. You know what? I can chat for England. I think you can too. So happy to do that.
How dare you? I can in this environment. It's very odd because in this environment I can. Sometimes in real life I can be a bit quiet.
Really?
I've met people when I've gone to weddings and things, and I've met people. They come and talk to me like I'm on the show, so they'll start chatting to me about things. Sometimes maybe I'm just a bit moody and I don't always talk as much, but I find I'm a bit shyer then.
Yeah, and that's quite normal. I think in person, that's quite normal. It's like that. It's like when you're on the computer and you're typing. A lot of people feel more confident because they're not face to face with that person. I think I'm the same online as I am. I think I'm more confident offline, as in real life, than I am online.
Yeah. No, that's odd.
Yeah.
So you're basically saying all my issues, I'm just normal, really.
Yeah, you're normal. You're just normal. We're all normal. It's just, everyone's different, but you're normal.
Am I not a little bit special?
You're very special, Sat. Very, very special and very mature and very special.
You're so good at this. You're so good at this. Everybody, check out Mita Mistry.
Oh, thank you so much, Sat. I've really enjoyed it. So,
right, Mita,
stay safe.
It's come to the end. Thanks a lot. Honestly, I mean that genuinely.
Thank you.
It's been great chatting to you. I've had a great time. I've learned a lot.
Great. I have too.
And let's do it again very soon.
For sure, definitely. Just let me know what you want to talk about, and I'll get my thinking cap on. Or we just talk. We don't have to think. Just do it.
It's a date. Perfect.
Great. Thank you so much, Sat.
Bye-bye.